Thanks, Ian, and hello, everyone. I'm the CEO of the newcomer, the new kid in the block, Accelerite. Personally, I'm a newcomer to CloudStack, of course. We acquired 60-odd people from Citrix as part of the acquisition. So overall, as a group, of course, we understand CloudStack well, but the Accelerite team, who were part of Accelerite prior to the acquisition, we are newcomers. So what I wanted to do was sort of quickly introduce Accelerite to you, but really talk about, I'm not gonna, I'll keep it short, but I really want to talk about what I see as a newcomer coming into the community and what I see as strengths and opportunities. I don't want to say challenges, I want to see opportunities because I think these are fixable problems, but I want to talk about that. But primarily, I'm going to keep this more on the business side of it. You guys are all fundamentally developers. I don't want to tell you anything about technology. You guys will roast me. So I'll keep this at a business level, something that I can talk about with some competence rather than technology. So let me make an attempt at that. So this is just a very short introduction to Accelerite. So Accelerite is a fully owned sub of a larger company called Persistent Systems. We've been doing what we do for about 4 years now, but 2.5 years ago, we incorporated as a fully owned sub of our parent company. And what we do is something sort of unique. We have built our portfolio of products using acquisitions of what we deem as non-strategic assets in larger companies. So we go to the likes of Citrix or Intel or HP, or we find assets that we like that they don't like, and or they're not doing a great job with, such as Cloud Platform in Citrix's case, and we bid for them, and we acquire them, and we invest and we grow. So that is what we do. So we're not like a PE firm. The idea is not to extract profits and sell it off, but really to build a portfolio of meaningful products for our customers and keep it and grow. So that's a very short introduction to us. So we have 4 different product lines now. Cloud Platform, of course. It has some disaster recovery components as well, based on some of the other previous work we have done that is not integrated with CloudStack today, but that is something we're looking at. Sentient is a real-time security product line. Shared Insights is an analytics product line. That is something we're trying to integrate with CloudStack as well to see if we can do analytics for cloud projects. And Apone is an IoT platform that we acquired from Intel. But more interestingly, what do we see, the newcomer's view of CloudStack? I mean, we clearly, one of our interests in this was primarily because of the fact that we just saw that it is a very, very superior technology to what was out there already. I mean, we were part of the OpenStack community. If you go to OpenStack and look at the members, because our name starts with an A, we are probably the first or the second member in the OpenStack community today, because we've been there now for a while. We were trying to do disaster recovery for OpenStack, and it turned out selling OpenStack disaster recovery was very difficult because there weren't that many production deployments of OpenStack. So it was a very dull business. Without anyone depending on their life on OpenStack workloads, it was very difficult to sell disaster recovery for it. And we had been looking at CloudStack. I'm a good friend of Sheng's from way back when. We used to work together. And we'd been following the project closely, and I've always been very impressed by the technology, and hence our interest in CloudStack. And we approached Citrix a couple of years ago, and this finally came together. So clearly, we saw this as superior technology and a very, very strong adoption and large-scale deployments. I mean, this is, again, something, since our acquisitions, we've had like 200 node expansion deployments. 200 node deployments of OpenStack would be hard to find. 200 node expansion deployments are routine, for us. So clearly, as a product, this is far ahead of where others are. But on the other hand, one of the things that Sebastian said, which I think rang very true to me, is that the opportunity is almost in not fighting that battle anymore. The opportunity is to say that, look, this is very stable technology, and we're going to move to where the world wants us to move and continue the evolution rather than fight that battle. I think, as a marketing battle, we're never going to win OpenStack versus CloudStack. I think, look at this community and look at the 10,000 people circus that comes together in, few times a year here and there. So that's not a fight that is worth fighting, in my opinion. But product-wise, we've clearly won the battle. We have a very good product, and we should be, you guys have built, and we should be very proud of that as a newcomer into the community. I see that as something very, very strong. Some of the opportunities I see, as Sebastian mentioned, I sort of concur with him there. I think the opportunities to move forward are at the higher levels. It's not in solving just the infrastructure problem alone, but how can the infrastructure support higher level services, and containers is one of them. Clearly, Kubernetes or whatever you want to, as a workload running inside the infrastructure as a service, obviously one of them. But I think there are more opportunities. There are several in the open source project in OpenStack today in CloudStack today that we have seen, but we would really like to see tons of more, these higher level services, the equivalent of RDS, or, the equivalent of Hadoop as a service, or equivalent of Spark as a service, or equivalent of, equivalent of Kinesis, maybe Kafka as a service. All of these things are very important in our opinion. We talk to customers all the time, primarily because we've been in the business of doing other things with customers, not quite cloud related. And we had seen these needs, and Epona, one of our IoT product lines, it requires all of these higher level things. We need a message queue, we need a streaming service, etc. And we see that as an enterprise developer, before we acquired cloud platform Citrix, we have always seen needs in a cloud which are far higher level than what infrastructure as a service provides. And we see that as something very important. If I go to the OpenStack world and see, there are a variety of vendors who are supporting all sorts of things. I don't know how many of them are making money off of all of these integrations, but it's tons and tons of those integrations, which we lack as a community here. So one of the opportunities I see is to improve the level of service layer integrations. And in order to improve the level of services the cloud can offer to the customer, so we can do something higher level, we need to increase momentum. Clearly, the strength in being small group is that stuff you guys produce is very stable. It is not 800 different companies checking in code into a code branch, which makes it unstable all the time. So you guys have the strength that you've developed something which is developed by a tight-knit community, and hence the product is really solid. But the downside is that we are seen as a project that doesn't have as much momentum as OpenStack, and that is something that we got to fix some way or the other. So that is an opportunity. The question really is, does it need sort of a reboot campaign from an outbound perspective? I know that a lot of the business guys involved in not the developers, but the business guys, Giles, Ian, we've all mentioned the possibility of, should we do this marketing alliance again? Or, should we do something in order to create the awareness about the product line? That is something that I've been thinking about as well. I don't know if I have an answer, but those are thoughts that we have. We certainly see that we would like the analysts to start writing about how CloudStack is alive and kicking, and there are tons of more vendors and tons of more opportunities, etc., for other vendors to come in and play into the ecosystem. And we would love to see that, because that would be a stamp of growth again when more vendors come in. So that's really need more vendor participation. I mean, I'm really happy. We're clearly one newcomer in the game, and I see there are few more names that I can recognize who are part of new members of the community. But we are now running an active campaign to get more members in. I have a full-time person working at Accelerite who's reaching out to potential partners in order to get them back into the CloudStack community. And the way we are encouraging them to do that is by telling them that, look, come and do these integrations, and we will expose you to our customer base. So we will take you to our customers and expose you. So we are encouraging them by giving them more opportunities to do business, so that they would come back into the community and they would do more things. And one of my asks of the community, at least the business side of the community, is that do more of that. If you have customers and there are more vendors who are coming in, we almost need a methodical program within the community to see if a new vendor comes in, there's a new integration, can we somehow publicize that within the community among the existing customer base, so that they know there is a new vendor support and there is more people coming in. So this can almost be the reboot. In other words, can we get the word out more often that more vendors are coming in? How do we publicize the fact that more and more people are supporting CloudStack? So while we are putting in the effort to get more people in, I think as a community, we got to figure out how do we solve the problem of getting the word back out, so that people know that there are more vendors coming in. So this is seen as a thriving project again. I think the opportunity really is to retain what you guys have done extremely well, which is a very, very stable product. Now, as we move to the higher levels, is it possible to create some kind of a layer of plugins which the core community controls, and more vendors come in, plug into that layer, and then there are more higher and higher level services? In other words, take database as a service or Hadoop as a service, should we be thinking about as a community coming up with a plugin layer that supports these higher level services where multiple Hadoop vendors can come plug in or multiple database vendors can come plug in. So the plugin layer is exposed, but the core integration with the infrastructure as a service layer in order to bring that thing in, and how do you control that and how do you manage that? That is perhaps something that I would like to see personally the community take on as a project. We have to encourage our existing users who are all, we've had customers that we acquired from Citrix who have been evaluating one thing or the other, and they all say that it is impossible to migrate because this is the only stable platform out there. But we would like them to be more vocal about those things. We would like them to say that out loudly. We would like to set up interviews with analysts so that they would say that more, and they got to see a momentum back in the project where we are checking in more things, etc., which would be a good thing. Again, we would like to see this plugin layer for services. And I would like to really see a program to expose vendor integrations into current. So that is sort of my high levels, more business oriented, hopes for what the project can do in order to evolve. But purely from an Accelerite perspective, we will continue to be a very active member of the community. We will, we have already increased our development workforce. 60 odd people that we acquired from Citrix. It was a combination of developers and support engineers and QA people. We have increased that team already somewhat. We've probably added about 15, 20 developers to the project now, and we would continue to do so. We will continue to increase our level of involvement from a number of developers who are checking in code into the branches. So that is our view. So we will continue to be a very active member of the community, and we will do whatever it takes in order to continue to ensure that CloudStack thrives. Okay, so that's it. Thank you very much.